everyone. Darth Oblivious back with you for another episode of Wretched Hive Recap. Episode 7, I believe this is. I can't count usually that high. But regardless, there's actually not much on the forums really that caught my fancy this week. We pretty much went through some of the stuff in that special episode last week. Nothing really happening in the Wretched Hive, more or less, except, of course, we've had the release of Chapter 11 with all its glory and naked Jorganness and all that good stuff. What a naughty little kitty. Regardless, the patch, the chapter is out. People are playing it. A few bugs here and there, problems this and that. Mostly, again, I think the big thing was with Jorgen this time around. Again, testing. So, we're pretty much going to dedicate this episode to reviewing the producer livestream, which occurred on Wednesday. 1 day ahead of its usual time, which is scheduled on Thursdays at 2 o'clock. I think it's Pacific, 5 o'clock. I know it's 5 o'clock Eastern time. This time was Wednesday at the same time, simply because the producer is going to be was out of the studio the remainder of the week. So shockingly enough, they actually did it a day ahead of time. When I started reading Eric's post about the change in time, I initially thinking in my head saying, oh, they're just going to cancel it, they're going to push it back a week or something like that. But no, they did it a day ahead of time. Although if they had pushed it back a week, it actually would have worked better for me. But hey, we're still getting this episode done anyway for its usual Monday release. Which, of course, if you're watching it, well, here it is. Anyway, so we'll just get on with taking a look at what they had to say in this month's live stream. Producer and State of the Galaxy.
6-minute delay. I guess I should show our faces. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the March producer live stream.
Hello, everyone.
You are?
I am Ben Irving, producer for Star Wars The Old Republic.
And I'm Eric Musco, community manager. We apologize for the 6-minute delay. Long story. Don't worry about it. All right, shall we move on?
All Musco's fault.
It is all my fault.
Obviously.
It is all my fault. All right, shall we move to the next slide? Get this bad boy started?
Yeah, let's get going.
Yes, let's get started, shall we?
So, again, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the monthly producer stream. Agenda topics for today. Do our classic State of the Galaxy, talk about some hot topics in the community and other things that are relevant.
Yep.
Then we're going to talk about the launch of Chapter 11, Disavowed, move on into the Odessan Proving Grounds and Rishi Arena. Odessan Proving Grounds is our official name for the new Warzone. We have some quality of life improvements, some additional ones than I had shared last month. Give you guys an update on the Eternal Championship. And then we'll have our special guest, Charles Boyd, join us for story time with Charles Boyd.
That's right.
To talk about Chapter 12, Visions in the Dark.
Correct. All right. Let's move into State of the Galaxy.
Chat replay, I might actually be able to pick out something interested in chat,
Eternal
too.
Championship. So, as you guys know, we had to delay the launch of the Eternal Championship. The ultimate reason for that is it just wasn't ready. The quality wasn't there, and the feature was not fun enough, basically. And it's kind of just life in game development. We're trying to be as transparent with you guys on upcoming features as we can, and the downside of that is occasionally it all comes together and we say, hey, this thing just isn't ready, it needs a little bit more TLC. And that was the case with the Eternal Championship. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Just wanted to come up front and say we pushed that out. And the reason for that was quality and just making sure we deliver something that's really fun and really amazing to you guys when it is ready.
Right.
So Chapter 11 for early access yesterday and full access.
Anyway, and of course we talked about that as well in our previous episode about the delay and that kind of stuff. So really no more need to really go into more details about that. So again, further explanation for what we already know.
This is coming out tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about that next slide. Just to talk specifically about the launch, we know there are a couple of issues with the launch. We actually have a patch prepping right now for tomorrow morning. Tate is going to post the patch notes and details of what fixes are in there. I know there are a bunch of issues. We want to fix the important one around Jorgen. There are a couple of other fixes that we really want to get to that probably won't come tomorrow, and we'll try to get them to you early next week, hopefully by Tuesday if we can. But the community guys will post the details of that. But do know a patch is coming tomorrow, and a follow-up patch will come next week.
Yep.
Testing, testing, testing. Now again, as we've said before, on many occasions, no, of course, testing is not going to catch every problem. But, again, you have the good faith effort. You do everything you possibly can to release the product in a good state. At least then, even if it launches broken, you can say, hey, we did our best. These things happen. We're working to fix them. As of right now, you can't say that. You can't say you've actually put forth a good faith effort to release content in a non-buggy playable state. Test it. Test it. Just like you're doing Eternal Championship, test the damn chapters.
Community content. So, do you want to kick this off a little bit?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've talked about a lot, certainly, and it's something that I know that guys like Ben and stuff on the dev team really appreciate, is all the amazing content that you guys make in the community. We have so many great podcasts and YouTubers, and we don't get to highlight that stuff too often.
That's right.
Or we don't really, and we want to make sure to do that. And there's definitely some people, like, just to give a few examples, for one, Bad Feeling Podcast. They're local to Austin. We were able to bring them out, play the Odessa Proving Ground early, give us some feedback and stuff early on, which was cool. Swotorista. This is one of the reasons that we brought this up. That she started this video series called The Academy, which just has these really, really great video guides to introduce new players to the game, or even if you're an existing player, kind of explains some of the systems. So some really, really cool stuff there. And then we found a cool video by a YouTuber, Kid Lee, describing the Odessa Proving Grounds, and we're actually going to show you a little bit later in the live stream, just because it's a cool way to talk about what the Odessa Proving Grounds is. So we just really wanted to thank you guys for all the great content that you guys put out. We do see it. It's something that me and my team forward on to these guys all the time to make sure that they see it, and they see it without us even forwarding it.
What about me? Dolph's oblivious. How dare you?
Is the core place to share that information. You know, the SWTOR game is only as good as the community who plays it, and there are so many brand new players in the game right now, and if you guys can help them out by sharing some of the cool videos like SWTORista had made, I think it makes for a stronger community and ultimately a better game. So thank you guys for contributing, but also encourage you to share it with the new players out there.
Yeah, and only because I see it in chat. Just because I didn't mention you specifically in the three, believe me, we listen to all of our podcasts, we read all the blogs. Like, thank all of you guys. Just I didn't name you in one of those three. Believe me, we know you're out there, and we love you guys.
All right, why, thank you. I love you too, Eric. I thank you. But all kidding aside, at least we have, at least we have some recognition of all the community content out there. Very well done. That's much appreciated. Now, of course, all our tongue-in-cheek and stuff, and some of our ranting and raving that we do here. At least we know it's not completely meaningless. Let's put it that way. I may say a few things here and there, and of course, one of the primary reasons for doing this is to be able to say what I feel without having to risk forum bans and that kind of stuff. To be able to put out there a complete and honest opinion on what's going on and a take on what people are discussing in the forums. There's nothing wrong with that. And hopefully, as we can see, maybe it's doing some good here with the Eternal Championship and its testing and stuff like that. So, let me put it to you, my dear devs, since you are watching this. Again, as I've said in previous episodes, let's get the testing done. At some point, you've got to say spoilers don't mean jack shit. Okay? If someone doesn't want to have spoilers, then they can avoid watching the content or watching this or reading that. They can turn that off. I mean, just look at The Force Awakens. Some of the biggest spoilers, some of the biggest wow moments. And people went months. At this point, there are still people who do not actually know some of the key points that happened in the movie because they have not yet seen it. So being able to avoid spoilers can be done. So let's put an emphasis on testing. Let's put an emphasis on quality. And let's not really worry about spoilers, okay? Let's just get this stuff on the PTS. Let's get it tested. Let's release it in the best possible state it can. Let's put that good faith effort to releasing good quality content. Now, in addition to that, of course, I've got some my own quality of life things I'd like to reiterate, but we'll do that when the time comes during this live stream, during the recap of this live stream, when they talk about the quality of life moments, shall we? So stay tuned, please. More to come.
Chapter 11 Disavowed. So, in case you haven't played it because you weren't in early access, it's now available and free to all subscribers who were part of early access.
Yep.
If you weren't part of early access, you'll get it tomorrow. Again, to quickly summarize, you join forces with Major Jorgen and Havoc Squad. Really exciting, you know, especially if you have the Trooper story, it's exciting. If not, really cool character that you get to hang out with.
I did enjoy
into
Arc.
enemy territory as well.
Let's skip ahead here. We don't really need to know much about Disavowed.
So the Odessa Improving
There
Grounds
we go.
and
Here's
the
some
Rishi
information
Arena.
for us.
So if you just back one, like these are some screenshots we showed before. You know, I don't want to get into all the detail of it because we covered it off last time, and the real goal is to show you guys a video of it. But just a couple of updates. First of all, we said it was coming with chapter 12. That's going to be on April 5th.
Yep.
Okay,
this
so
will be on
we have a
April
release date
5th.
for that.
If you're a part of early access, you get also chapter 12. If not, April 7th for the chapter. But Odessa Improving Grounds and the Rishi Arena will be available to subscribers on April 5th. We talked about this last stream, but the whole idea with this is cross-faction alliance teams train for their ongoing fight against the Eternal Throne. So one of the really cool features is you can play with the opposite faction on the same team. You know, it's part of the lore of, you know, we're all here fighting against the Eternal Empire, and we're going to train together to facilitate that. Iteration is in progress. That's where we're at in our development cycle, and kind of the point of
it's
bringing
being
this up is to
tested.
say, we went to PTS
Very
recently.
good. Very good.
Next bullet? Nope.
No, I rebranded
did
the
you?
bullet point. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go. This is what happens when we go through the PowerPoint. Then we change PowerPoints.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
We really just want to call out to say thank you, really. You know, we went up on PTS, and I know the combat team has really appreciated all of the feedback that you guys have got. And there's been some really specific and meaningful changes. You know, I asked Alex Modney, I was like, hey, can you just hit me up with like 2 or 3 changes? And he sent me a link to a page that has 15 changes in it. And I'm like, I can't read 15 changes out on the stream, man. He's like, yeah, but that's what this came from. That's what the community did. They gave this feedback, and it's what we changed. So there are a couple of specifics we can call out, and I had to write them down. You know, just things like control points being active for 90 seconds instead of 75 seconds was direct feedback from you guys. Making sure only the 3 middle control points have a chance to become active in round 1 to kind of limit the playing field at the start.
Yep.
And making sure battle mods are now available in the first round as well. So just a couple of examples, but like I said, huge page of feedback. Again, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
for
it was something where both, you know, my team, the combat team, we were looking through the PTS forums constantly, looking for all the feedback you guys were giving on what you liked about the Warzone, what you didn't. We were watching live streams of people playing it, watching people's YouTube videos and guide write-ups of what they felt was strong about the Warzone and what didn't. And like Ben said, literally the change list came from that feedback. We wanted to see how you guys felt about the Warzone and what you wanted to change, and I think it made the Warzone better for it. So thank you guys.
Hence, now imagine what we could do if we follow the same philosophy for every other core component of the game. PvE, operations, flashpoints, story, strongholds, Galactic Starfighter, and quality of life improvements. Gameplay mechanics. Oh, what we could do with this kind of interaction between devs and community for this game. Whoa, it's amazing. It's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. If we could just keep this going and expand upon it.
Also, just want to confirm the Rishi Arena is going to come with Chapter 12. So also available on April 5th. We said TBD last time, but playtesting's been good, feedback's been fine, so we're going to put that out with Chapter 12 as well. Yeah. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So again, one of the things that we do is we keep our eyes out for different content and stuff that people are making, and as opposed to us just describing to you exactly how the Odessa Proving Grounds work, we found this great video from Kid Lee where it's a 20-minute video in total. We're not going to show you this. I think it's 17. We're not going to show you the 17 minutes, but there's a 2-minute section of it that does a really, really good job of talking through exactly how Odessa Proving Grounds work. There are some changes since the time he recorded this video, which he did a good job of actually annotating and explaining that. So we'll leave the annotation up for a little bit. We're going to play that video for the 2 minutes that explain it. For any of you that haven't played it, to get an idea of how it works. And we just wanted to give a shout to Kid Lee for making the cool video and showing us how much he's enjoying Odessa Proving Grounds and writing up that guide video. So our faces are going to disappear so that you don't see them during the video, and we'll play it for the 2 minutes and then we'll be right back. All right?
Let's do it.
Good? All right. First our faces and the mics disappear, and then we'll...
okay, yada yada. We don't really need to...
There are going to... We'll see 2 standing inside of the control point.
Yada yada. So you can go see the Kid Lee video, so... No need to go through the whole thing here.
Specifically stated that Odessa Proving Grounds is cross-faction, so is the Warzone for subscribers only. Thank you again, Kid Lee, for...
yes, thank you, Kid Lee.
Video. Again, we just wanted to highlight some of the cool community content that's out there.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to... There's a couple questions.
Yeah. So 2 of the questions that we saw, because I think that there's a little bit of confusion, is the Warzone for subscribers only?
Yeah, so I misspoke just a couple minutes ago. The Warzone is an update available to everybody.
Oh, yeah,
so,
I completely missed that misspeaking.
And then we specifically stated that Odessa Proving Grounds is cross-faction. So it's like you could have a Sork and a Trooper on the same team. Is that going to be only for Odessa Proving Ground, or is that for all Warzones?
Yeah, so right now it's only going to be for the Odessa Proving Grounds. You know, thematically it really makes sense in that situation. We've considered expanding that to other war zones potentially in the future, but right now we just want to do it for the Odessa Proving Grounds. We'll see how it goes and make a decision from there.
Cool. All right, let's jump into some quality of life stuff.
I wonder if that could be part of the better than cross-server ideas too. I mean, seriously, I think at this point most servers, for a long time have been, Imperial heavy in terms of population. So making the war zones and stuff cross-faction, or at least starting with the Odessan one here, might actually help, again, with queues and stuff like that. Again, now, of course, we got all the lore and the story, things like that. Now, of course, the traditional war zones aren't cross-faction in that you have public and Imperial characters on the same team. But, of course, it's well known that, the queues will pop where it'll be Imperial versus an Imperial team. I really don't see any reason why at this stage in the game's life, lore and all that other nonsense aside, why we shouldn't make every war zone cross-faction such as this is. And 2, why we should not be able to choose the war zones we want to be able to play, and skip the ones that we hate above all with a passion. But regardless, at this stage in the game, you got to throw lore out of the question and just say, hey, what's good for the health of this particular component of the game? Getting people to be able to get in there and play these matches is the most important. If making all of them cross-faction aids in making queues pop faster, it needs to be done. I mean, that's just the end of the story with that. Now let's see what QOL we've got to talk about now.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there was one more question. Will the Eternal Championship come with Chapter 12? That's a great question, and I'm going to cover Eternal Championship in a couple of slides. So thank you.
Oh, that's on PowerPoint.
Yeah, so quality of life stuff. We talked about this last stream as well. I actually showed this first slide, so there's nothing new here, but I have some extra stuff
a reiteration
to
of
show on the next slide. Just wanted to do a
what
really
we
quick
talked about in the
refresher
last
for people
producer
who
live
maybe
stream, and
didn't
of course
tune in
all
last
that
stream.
was on the
So we're
forums
making
as
some
well.
really cool quality of life improvements to both strongholds and guilds. So for strongholds, you can have all 5 personal strongholds now, which is a great addition. People have been asking for it forever.
Yep.
We upped the decoration limits for flagships by 50%. For common decorations, we're up to 999 as the new limit. There are some rare items and other things that don't follow that rule, but as many as we could do that made sense, we upped the limit so you guys can put those
Again,
decorations
that's-
across more strongholds.
That's a great
On
change.
guilds, one of the biggest things asked for all eternity was let us have 1,000 people or more than 500.
Yep.
And so we've upped that cap, added a legacy name column to the guild window with a primary character flag, so you can see people who are all really the same person with multiple characters, and you can flag which one is
that's,
their main
again,
character that they play the most.
just
As well as
Good,
having
good,
mass
good,
selection to make it easier
good
to manage
changes,
guild
good
members.
changes.
So that's the refresher from last month. But
Yeah.
if you didn't know about it, it's some cool new quality roster.
Yep, and I've seen some. I've definitely seen some good questions in chat, specifically around these 2 features. Things like the stronghold bonus for conquests and how some of the guild improvement UI stuff will go. As always, we'll post a wrap up of the live stream afterwards on the forums. Ask those questions there, because those are things that I don't know the answers to off the top of my head. I don't know if Ben will either, but we can get those answers from the dev team. So that's super specific-y stuff. We'll definitely answer afterwards.
Yep. So let's talk about
something
some of the
that can
new
also be
quality
tested
of
on
life
the
things that we haven't
PTS,
talked about.
like we
And
did
some
with
of these are actually
1.2
already
way back
available
in the
on
day.
PTS.
Yep.
So first of all, character name improvement. So the longer a game goes on, the harder it is to find a unique name.
Yep.
So we wanted to just allow having a space in a name to have more flexibility with names. And that sounds like a really silly and small thing, but it's actually really big. Like a lot of players are very attached to their names, and having the name you want is actually a really important part of playing the character you want and enjoying the story the way you want to enjoy the story. And so having the space available just makes a lot more flexibility. So a pretty simple thing that I think will be really well received by all of you guys.
Yep.
And I don't actually remember if we discussed some of this. Some of the upcoming points, I'm pretty sure we did in either if not this past episode we just did, but the episode beforehand. So some of this stuff was actually on the forum, so I'm pretty sure we discussed it last week. Short-term memory loss, man. Getting old sucks. But anyway, this character name improvement one is pretty important, because that has always been, and something that probably should have been there since launch. That's one of the things that kills me about a lot of games, that you can only have one name, so to speak. Just one name. You can't really have a first and a last name. And I think maybe Guild Wars spoiled me on that, because you are actually able to do that, or have 5 names within the character limit. Of course, in Guild Wars I've got a handful of characters that actually have 3 names, based on 3 names for their name. And of course based on sort of the names that sort of fit with the continent they were born on. So something like this, I am a fervent unbeliever of an MMO handbook. I throughout time, there seems to be this belief that every MMO that releases should have a set design or set pattern to it. And I don't really subscribe to that. I think each MMO should do, if not something, not be unique, but do something within the realm of its design that makes sense. And some things just aren't all that important in terms of design and mechanics and core gameplay and stuff like that. But something like this is just really makes sense, and not as a game gets older, but makes sense from day one, to be able to create a proper name for your character. And the more leniency you have for that, the easier it is to get a name that you really care about and you really want for your characters. And if all games follow that pattern, then you can actually, as many of us do, use the same character name from game to game. But anyway, it's coming. So again, very good change, very much needed. Long overdue, so now we don't have to worry about this legacy name nonsense, even though the legacy names were changed to now you can actually get your last name, so to speak, after you complete the starter plan. Before it was, I think, after you had to complete, what was it, I think chapter 1. I think it was chapter 1. It's been so long ago, I don't remember now, but still, it doesn't seem like a lot, but back in the day, that was a long time to be able to get a last name for your character, so to speak. But I'm glad for that. Most needed. Now, this next one, of course,
So
I
PvE
do know
and
we
PvP
did talk
instance
about.
types. So traditionally in the past, all of our servers have been a specific type, whether it's PvP or PvE.
Yep.
We wanted to do away with that. We thought that created boundaries that didn't serve any purpose and were kind of an outdated kind of type.
And very specifically, it would be if let's say you're on a PvP server, and I'm your friend, but I don't want to be on a PvP server, we can't play together. One of us has to make a sacrifice for that to happen.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do instead is make that an instance type. So you can now be on any server that you want, and through the map, you can say, hey, I want to be in PvP instances. So if you want to do that and go out into the world and participate in open world PvP, you can flag yourself that way and you can go and do it.
Yep.
If you're a PvE player only and you don't want to be part of PvP at all, you can flag yourself to be PvE. So the whole idea, to Musco's point, is it just creates flexibility. Do you want to do open world PvP? Great. Pick any server you want and flag to be in the PvP servers. Do you want to go and join a guild on a specific server because you heard they're really amazing, but they're on the wrong type of server for you? Doesn't matter anymore. You can still go there and flag yourself any way you want. Do you prefer to be with heaps of people and be on one of the really busy servers? You can go and join one of those servers. Would you rather play in a bit of a quieter environment? Like, you can pick to go on one of the lesser populated servers. So it just frees you up for a lot of different options for things that you can do. So
I was going to say something, but first, let me pick up on that key point there. Lots of different options. Again, if devs, you're still with me at this point, because this is going to lead into to more of what I have to say in a little bit, but more options for how you want to play the game. Mr. Irving, thank you for understanding. More options might actually be a good idea. Key point there. But we did discuss this at least I'm pretty sure it was last episode. If not, it was the episode before. But again, so I'm not going to reiterate too much of what we've already discussed. But again, it's a good change. It's an interesting change. I think in the long run it's a good change. But again, despite what Ben said there about being able to pick the server population that you want to experience, I don't see in the long run how this how you're going to avoid another server merger with this in place. I just don't see how you're going to avoid that, just from the practical standpoint of overhead. It costs money to run these servers, and if it's cheaper to take down a couple of servers that are used very little or have a very low population, then, from a business standpoint, you take down those damn servers and you move who's ever left on there onto another server. So for them to still avoid the question of server mergers, I mean, I think at this point you have to address it to some point, even if you say we have no plans at this point in time to merge servers, but you have to put the asterisk there and saying, But from a business standpoint, if it makes sense to do so in the future, we will. I mean, it's got to be addressed. And having these new instant types, like I said, I just don't see how we're going to avoid server mergers in the future if you just want to be business smart about it. So we'll just leave it at that. If you want to go more, more in depth about some of the reasonings I think behind that and this and that, and go watch one of the previous episodes, for that.
A really nice quality of life feature.
Yeah, good deal.
And this one's pretty minor, I think, especially for the people in the stream. You won't come across this very often, but we wanted to update the server select screen. It was out of date. It didn't make sense with the new PvP and PvP instance types, so we gave it a bit of a facelift and made it reflect the state of the game as it is today. So that'll be going up as well.
Yep.
And the last one is some social window improvements. So again, pretty small feature, but sometimes it's the little things that count. Things like using /who and how that feature operates, and I won't dive into details of it, but just some really small changes that'll be really nice for those of you out there who often try to find where your friends are at or to look for people in certain areas. This will just make your life a little bit easier, which is really cool.
Right. Good deal.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it for quality of life improvements. So, nothing on level sync or the critical story path experience gains yet. Disappointing. And we'll get back to that keyword again. Options. Now again, we've gone through level sync. We've gone through this stuff in several of our episodes, and of course, it was kicked off with the Awesome Sauce for Games episode titled "The Death of SWTOR." Again, but we just heard Ben Irvin talk about options, talk about having these PvE and PvP instances to enable us to have the options to be able to play where we want to in sort of the environment that we want to be able to play. How can we not talk about the critical story path experience gains and level sync among those quality of life options? Now again, to get back to it, I mean, it makes perfect sense if you want to put your tinfoil hat on and say, you know what, the best part of the game is the 1 to 50 experience. That's what you get for free. All 8 class stories, that's what you get for free. You don't have to pay to experience the best part of the game. You do have to pay to experience the further continuation, so to speak, of the storylines. Rise of the Hutt Cartel and Shadow of Revan's excluded. But, so, of course, BioWare is going to rush you through the best part of the game at this point in time. Or I shouldn't say BioWare, but, because, EA obviously has a hand in this. But they're now rushing you through the best part of the game. Why? Because essentially they want your money. They don't want you to play for free. They want your money. Never mind that many, I don't want to say polls, but many studies indicate that, when your player base is engaged in a free-to-play game and enjoying the experience, they're more apt to spend more money. Now, if 1 through 50 is the best part of your game, why would you not want your player base engaged and enjoying that part of the game? Because then they'll say, hey, I'm really enjoying this. Why don't I go buy a Hyper Crate and see if I can get some equipment that I really like? Kind of stuff like this. I think you will end up, if you operate with that in the back of your mind, you might see a shift from subscribers being the most purchasers of the cartel market to spreading it out a little bit, maybe evening out to where it's free to play /premium and subscribers are making equal contributions to the cartel market because everyone's engaged, everyone's enjoying that core best part of the game instead of being rushed through it and saying, hey, you want more of it? Pony up, man. The first taste is free. Everything else you gotta pay for. So, it sort of leaves a sour taste in the mouth to be doing it the way they're doing it now. So ultimately, what this boils down to is give us the damn options. We had the white acute module during the 12 XP gains, and there was a reason for it. A simple reason for it. So let's give us the option to cut back on this freaking experience gain we get with the critical story path, the class stories, and the planetary arcs. Turn that back to normal. Give us options to play the flashpoints as they were before, vanilla style, we'll say now. Give us the option to turn off level sync. Give us the option to be able to play the game the way we played for the first 4 years of this game's life, so to speak. Again, there's certain things where level sync makes sense. Now, if it was a better implementation of level sync, we wouldn't have to have this discussion, so to speak, with me. But regardless, I mean, there's certain implementation, the world bosses. Yes, let's make each world boss area level synced. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with level sync being forced in certain circumstances where it makes sense for group content. Yes, world bosses most absolutely should be group content, and therefore the areas in which they spawn should be level synced areas in order to encourage that. Of course, again, as we've discussed for months on end about this, there are much better ways to solve all the problems that people have brought up that level sync was supposedly supposed to solve, and ultimately, which really effectively solved none of them. But that being said, let's just start at the basics. Let's just start at the root. Make the XP gains optional. Make level sync optional. Except in very specific certain circumstances, like the world bosses I mentioned. No reason for it not to be optional. No reason not to have the options, the quality of life options for people to be able to play the flashpoints and play through the zones the way they most enjoyed for the first 4 years of the game. So we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. And hopefully what Eric said was true. You all love us. You're all listening to us. Take this to heart. Ben, you said it yourself. Options. Options. Do not limit, do not force everyone down one small funnel of gameplay mechanics because of this other nonsense. The XP gains and level sync need to be optional. That needs to be a quality of life improvement for this game.
Moving on to the Eternal Championship.
Yep.
So an update on this. So first of all, let's just quickly remind people, what is this all about? The Eternal Championship allows you to compete in the Mayhem event against some of the galaxy's most notorious fighters to earn the title of the Eternal Champion. We talked about this before. It's intended for individuals to challenge themselves in a 10 boss encounter environment where as you progress further and further, the encounters get harder and harder. I say solo, but you can absolutely play with a friend.
Yep.
If you want to do this as a group, it'll be easier, obviously, than doing it by yourself. But if you want to just see the content or even chase the rare drops, you can get the rare drops in a group.
With your friends, yep.
If you want to lower your chances with 4 of your friends, how close of friends are they? I don't know. But you can do it in a group as well. But it's intended to challenge solo players. There's some quests around it, some weekly quests. As well as obviously obtaining the Eternal Champion title.
That's right.
And we showed Musco playing them last month, which was really good.
Yeah, they cut out all the parts where I died. I will say, when I played it, I only played. So there's 10 bosses in total. I only played the first 5 when I played it, and it was a lot of fun. But definitely, even at that time, it's one of those things where judging things like difficulty and a lot of that stuff is the things that we were iterating on that we were still trying to nail down exactly what was fun, which was one of the reasons that we decided to delay it.
Right.
Which brings up potentially what the next bullet is?
Yeah, so I don't want to announce a launch date today because we didn't do a great job of that last time. But what we're committed to doing is in 4 weeks, I'll have the announced date ready for you guys. If not beforehand, we might announce it before the next producer stream.
Yep.
Potentially, but that'll be the upper limit, will be 4 weeks. And then what we really want to do, we had such great success by putting the Warzone on PTS and getting feedback from our players that we want to do the same thing with the Eternal Championship. So our plan right now is we'll have Eternal Championship up on PTS in March. I think the goal is within the next 2 weeks, but we want to give ourselves March as the window to get it up there. And with that, there'll be a blog. You know, we talked about a blog being planned, but it just didn't make sense to release it because we were making a bunch of changes and we wanted to make sure it was still relevant. So we're hoping to put that out before the end of March as well. So stay tuned. We'd love to get you guys' feedback. You know, Musco touched on it a little bit, but when it all came together and we're all play testing these 10 encounters, there was just something missing.
Yep.
And, you know, the team talked me through all the changes they want to make. It's really exciting stuff. I think when everyone gets their hands on it on PTS, you guys are going to have a really great time. And I can't wait to see that feedback come in. And we can make a few improvements and then get it out for everyone to enjoy.
Because the boss encounters are crazy. They're crazy and they're fun.
Some of them are,
Some of them are just
really hard, actually.
They're out of control. Some of them are amazing. Yep. All right. One of the questions. I'll let you talk through this, and then I'll go through some of the questions that I've seen.
Okay, and there we have it. You know, we discussed this last episode. So I mean, there it is. At least again, let me say this. This is the kind of communication that we need and that we've wanted from BioWare in relation to the development of this game. Excellent information from that bullet point. Now, of course, is it ideal that we're probably looking at least 2 months down the line before Eternal Championship is released? I mean, obviously, you know, we've got at minimum 4 weeks before they even announce the release date. There should be at least a minimum of 2 weeks on the PTS for some good changing and iteration there, because you can't just throw it on there, test it and say, okay, these are the changes we're going to make, and not test those changes. So you need to have that period of time to be able to test it the way it is once it hits BTS, then be able to test each change, you know, each bulk of changes, each iteration of it down the line. So that's a good 2 to 3 week period there. So more than likely, at minimum, we're waiting 8 weeks, 2 months for Eternal Championship. Now, ultimately, it's all for a good cause, at least. But that, again, is not without its problems. And that just gets back to cadence, the content quality. At least it's being tested. But had the testing philosophy been better all along, then you know what? The Eternal Championship probably should have been tested 8 weeks ago. We should have been doing all of this kind of stuff, all this talk, all this would have been done 8 weeks ago. We wouldn't have talked about delaying Eternal Championship. We would have been doing this for the past 8 weeks. So again, that there, I think, is the problem with the content cadence and what some people bring up on the forums about the lack of a meaty chapter every month. You know, of course, you got the one forum that's, you know, 15 minutes of gameplay, which, you know, it's a little bit more than that. But again, ultimately, what it boils down to is just a few quests. You know, a planetary arc essentially is what we're playing through every month, and it's, you know, it is what it is. I mean, you really can't say anything more than that. It's good that there are regular updates to the game, regular content releases, but again, you know, this is sort of the same thing that Guild Wars 2 ran into, you know, with their every other week content release. You know, it's the catch-22. Do you want to wait months on end, or even, you know, in some cases you wait years because the bulk of the content comes in an expansion, or do you want the small, really bite-sized chunks more often? I mean, that there is the quandary with game development. And it's something that you're never going to be able to. One of the things, as usual, you're never going to be able to satisfy everybody. But you've got to make sure that when you pick your path, when you choose your path, so to speak, you need to make sure you've got everything in place to be able to make sure that path is met at the highest standard. And right now, BioWare has chosen their path, but unfortunately, they're not really meeting the standard that they need to meet for the quality of this content that's coming out. Hence, we're 8 weeks away from a very interesting piece of content being released, simply because the design paradigms and decisions made in the past and made during the change in focus for the game didn't have that good foundation underneath it yet. But we'll see how things pan out. We'll see how it pans out. Now, of course, we've got these inane subscriber rewards. I mean, if you're a fan of HK, then I guess if you're a fan of HK, I guess, yeah, these are enjoyable, but otherwise they're, completely meaningless. Of course, you read on the forums that, some people tend to see this helmet as complete crap. Ironically enough, though, one tinfoil post on the forums did mention, bring to light the fact that at the end of this all, there is supposed to be that special bonus storyline mission coming up for the subscribers who meet the qualifications, which I think is be subscribed all the way through August from the start. I guess back in January, February, all the way January to August, you get to play as HK-47. And perhaps this is BioWare's way of getting around having to force your character into an HK disguise, a la that one Imperial Agent story, that one Imperial Agent quest that actually gives you a disguise to wear to break into a room or something. And hence here, you don't need to do that. You just wear your subscriber rewards to look like HK-55, I guess. But otherwise, they're just, virtual fluff. I guess it appeals to some people who have plenty of money to kill. Again, at this point, I would recommend just completely canceling your subscription until Chapter 16 is out and get it all in one bulk. Just really nothing there that you need to subscribe every month for at this point in the game. I mean, the rewards are blah, meaningless, essentially. If you want good stuff, you're gonna have to go to the cartel market and spend cartel coins on it. That's all there is to it. We've got the storyline, so we don't even need to go through this. Yada yada yada. Story. There's a separate thing for that. What we're really interested in recapping these producer live streams are the mechanical changes and the state of the galaxy, that kind of stuff. So, story time. Blah. Don't need it. We'll see the vlog or whatever. No real information we need to go through here. So we'll end it here. I'll say my goodbyes, and that'll be it for this episode. Excellent. And there we have it. Thank you, one and all. Again, quite an interesting producer's live stream. I think at this point, I think this is the third one we've had already. So yeah, I think this is working out very well. I think we're finally, as I mentioned during the recap, we're seeing a very good improvement in the lines of communication and information flow from BioWare that we've been waiting years for. And I'm glad this is working out. I'm glad they're doing it. Let it continue. Let it continue. Some good information there. Good things to discuss. That's even the more important part, and hence why we're doing this. So, again, we'll leave it at this. Again, like Eric said, the devs appreciate our community content, so I hope everyone appreciates what I'm trying to do here, a bit tongue-in-cheek. a bit cheesy. You know, in the end, it's a bit. One of those things purposefully done. You know, it's cheesy on purpose here. We're trying to do for, hopefully a bit of entertainment purposes, but the underlying theme is to get people thinking about what we need to do to improve this game. And I think if anything shows over the last couple of months, I think it's working. I think it's working. We as a community, as a collective whole, what we've been saying for years, is finally filtering in. I think we're finally seeing results. So let's keep it up. Because ultimately, one point that did occur to me in discussing the one post by Sarfix in our previous episode here, and about being optimistic or being negative. Ultimately, as I said in that episode, it's good to be optimistic, but you have to do some critical thinking there. Ultimately, and critical thinking, whether you're a fanboy White Knight or whether you're a hater Tortanic type person, you have to do critical thinking, and you have to be smart about your criticisms or your optimisms. Because ultimately, just being optimistic doesn't cut it. Just being negative doesn't cut it. Ultimately, what this settles down to is if we accept mediocrity in anything we do, but if we accept mediocrity in game development, then ultimately all we will be presented with is something mediocre. So hence why we're doing this. Hence why I felt compelled to do Wretched Hive Recap. It's to be able to rise above and demand something more than average, demand something more than mediocre. Because eventually, if we just settle, then we will never ever get anything that is great, that is above average, that is phenomenal. It will always and always till the end of time be mediocre, if that's what we're willing to settle with. And I think that's one of the additional points is trying to make towards people like Sarfux. It's okay to be optimistic. It is perfectly okay to be a White Knight. I have been a White Knight. I am still a White Knight in many other things. But you've got to be smart about it. You have to realize that just because you like something doesn't mean it's actually good or good for the game that you are playing. So, we'll leave it at that. Don't settle for mediocrity. Let's try to rise above it. And that's what we're going to keep doing here with these episodes. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. And until next time, Starth Oblivious saying thanks for watching. And until next time, I will see you in game and on the forums.